Welcome, everyone. My name is Stacy, and today I'm going to go over the top 5 reasons why RBTs quit. You need to watch this video if you're thinking about getting into the field, if you're already in it and you're thinking about going forward or leaving, or even if you're thinking about employing RBTs just within this ABA field. If you're in it at all, please watch this video. So I've been in the field for a while now. I've talked to a lot of other RBTs, talked to some supervisors. I've even talked to business owners, and I've compiled this list of 5 reasons why RBTs quit. They just simply they quit. And it's not what you think. So keep watching. In no particular order, the very first reason I listed for quitting is the unpredictable schedule. Listen, sounds weird. It's not. If you, as an RBT, if you work in a center, you would more so have a consistent schedule, but please be aware of cancellations. This means that sometimes kids get sick, they go on vacation, they don't show up, so you don't have a kid. However, if you work in a center, you're more likely to either pick up another case while someone else is out, like sub, you know, or you could be a floater. Now, if you work in home and your client is out of town for 2 weeks, then you just don't have a client for 2 weeks. A lot of times we rely on this, okay, for income to survive. So if your client is gone for even just 3 days, that could make a significant difference in your paycheck because now you're going from, you may have been scheduled for 35 hours a week, now you're scheduled for 25. So a lot of that inconsistency in the schedule, cancellations, late starts, early ending, although we don't get into this field for money, money is how we survive. It provides us with gas and it helps us to feed our family. So while it's not the reason for doing the job, we need it in order to do the job. So if you don't have adequate pay, then you can't go to work. If you don't have enough money for gas, then you can't get there. If you only have 2 days that you worked during a pay period, then that's an issue. And in this field, that is an issue because you're dealing with children who have appointments. You know, every kid has appointments, every kid has dental checkups, every kid has days where they have a tummy ache, or someone in the house is sick, or they can't go. So be prepared for an unpredictable schedule. What you can do to kind of offset this is before you get started, you can talk to your employer like, hey, I'm available for substitutions. So I would like to, if you work in a center, just let them know, hey, if there's any cancellations, please let me sub. If you work in home, try to work for more than one company. Make sure the companies you work for allow you to do that. There's something called a non-compete clause that I'll get into in a later video. But make sure your company allows you to work for other companies. That way you can sub. If one company doesn't have clients, you can sub with the other. I know it's a bit much. Bear with me. But that is a huge reason. You know, number 2 is no support. A lot of RBTs reported that they just kind of get thrown out there and they have questions, they need support, and maybe the supervisor is overwhelmed or whatever happens there, but they're not getting feedback, or maybe they want to get better and they're not getting feedback about what they're doing incorrectly, or maybe there's just a lack of communication. There's a lot of stuff that goes into no support. So to avoid this, make sure you have a good relationship with your employee, and make sure as an RBT you have a good relationship with your supervisor. Ethically, it is our job to constantly communicate, to get scientific reasons from our supervisors. And I've never had the experience to where a supervisor is like, why are you asking me questions? No, they love it when you ask them questions. They're professionals. They love what they do usually. So it's kind of like, yeah, ask me more. What else do you want to know? So if something is ever unclear, please reach out to your supervisor, the manager, or even another supervisor. Just get all the information. But as an employer, you want to make sure your RBTs have a lot of support. Shower them with support. Okay, emails, text, calls, especially if they're new. At the end of their shift, say, hey, how did it go? What are some of your strengths, weaknesses, concerns? What are some wins for the day? Just a quick 5-minute conversation will reassure the RBT that, we are here to support you and we're here to answer any questions, especially if the RBT is new to the field. We don't want them to walk out on their first day because they feel overwhelmed. The third reason why RBTs quit, walk off, never come back, is they didn't realize the workload beforehand. As an RBT, it it's not a lot, but it is. So if you have, for example, you're with a client for 3 hours, you're working on, let's say, 30 targets. And in addition to that, you're working with behaviors and you're kind of like, oh my God, I'm not hitting these targets. He's having behaviors. I have to remember what to do. She's having behaviors. I have to remember what to do. We have a 10-minute feeding program, but it's actually lasting 35 minutes. I'm going to just relax and just speak to your supervisor either before you start this field. Do some research, watch videos like these on YouTube. They're everywhere. Or if you're already in the field and you're feeling like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Just talk to someone, because BCBA supervisors have been in your position before. They're not out of touch. So they know what it feels like. And just like with any job, right? It's really hard, even with training. That first week or two was like, okay, what am I doing? It's like, what is this? And it's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes. Take it one step at a time. Remember, your client is a child, okay? They're not like critiquing you. Do your very best. And then, as I said on the previous slide, communicate with your employer and your supervisor and just take a deep breath and go, this is what I need help with. Now, if you're in the field and you realize, you know what, this is not for me, I kind of wanted to do nursing, that's understandable. It's okay. People can change careers. If it just becomes too much stress and too much of an overload, communicate that and maybe reduce your hours or find a way to figure some things out. And as an employer, again, this goes back to communicating with your employee and saying, how did your shift go? What are your W's? What are your struggles? And how can I support you? All right, the next one is a career change. I touched on this in the previous slide. The psychology field is very broad, and I don't know anyone who's ever been an RBT who was in high school and was like, I really want to be an RBT. Personally, I didn't even find out about it until after I had already gotten my bachelor's, and that's when I decided to pursue my master's. So it was just something you stumble upon. So don't feel bad if you need to do a career change. As an employee, feel it out. If it's not for you, then put in a notice and then smoothly transition. As an employer, don't feel offended if your employee decides, hey, you know what, I'm going to go into teaching, or I'm going to go into different fields. Thank you for the opportunity. We're all just trying to navigate. All right, the next reason and the last reason I'm going to cover is low pay rates and no benefits. Again, there's no way that you could pursue this type of career just for money, because it takes so much out of you to provide really good services and to help people. So you won't enjoy this if you're not doing it primarily to help. Whether that be children, the elderly, young adult, it doesn't matter. If that it's not in your heart to want to help them and pretty much make sure they have a better life after services ends with you personally, then this is not the field for you. Or probably any type of medical field is probably not the field for you. However, pay rates are important. Know your worth. I don't know what state you're watching this video in, and I'm not going to speculate. Pay rates pretty much range for this field. I will tell you, you do get paid more for in-home usually, based off my experience. If you have a different experience, let me know in the comments what your experience was. You don't have to throw out pay rates. I don't encourage anybody to do that. But let me know if you got paid more for in-home than in-center. I believe in-center, the overhead is a little bit higher. So you might get paid less. Well, a lot of it higher because, they have a lot more expenses. In-home is a bit less than center because there's not as many expenses like, rent, water, and upkeep, maintenance, that sort of thing, um, insurance, which leads me to my next point. In addition to the pay rates fluctuating depending on the companies and what they offer, you also have to take a look at the benefits. So some companies will pay you mid-range depending on your experience and your degree level, but then they're offering amazing benefits, 401k matching, great medical, great dental. Some companies even offer bonuses and incentives, and if you show up for this and if you do these hours, we'll pay you this. So they try to encourage you and use positive reinforcement to keep you engaged. But definitely know your worth. And as an employer, make sure you're paying your RBTs a fair rate, because again, while we're not in it for the money, a lot of times we have to get to the client. We have to be able to keep the lights on at home. We don't want to have to worry about our employees stressing about, if they have holes in their clothes and they can't afford new pens for session, or if there's food in the fridge. So make sure your employees are getting paid a fair rate. If you're a new company and you can't really provide benefits right now, try to make up for that on the back end. Make sure you cater your job posting to the crowd that you want to attract. And as an employee, do a lot of research, look at the reviews of the company, try to go with a company who aligns with your values and who has what you're looking for. So for instance, if you have like some health issues, you might want to get a company that offers really great health benefits that may be of value to you. If you don't have any health issues, or you're already on your husband's or wife's insurance plan and that's not really important, then find a company that aligns with your values. The last thing that I'm going to say is this field is amazing and I love it. I don't know how anyone else feels on this aspect, but I absolutely love it. Um, it is really difficult at times to stay in the field depending on what's going on with the company that you work with. And quitting is never an easy decision. However, if you don't have a good schedule, you don't feel like you're supported, you think the workload is just too much, you're ready for a career change, or the pay just isn't really enough to survive, then you got to do what you got to do. You got to quit. You may even come back to it. There's some people who come back to it, or there's some people who, like I stated, works for more than one company. So they'll always have a backup for cancellations. They have a great relationship with the supervisor. There's always support, and that's been my experience. I've always had a fantastic relationship with supervisors. I understand the workload, and if things become too much, I communicate and say, hey, this is a little too much. Let's dial it back some. Maybe I can like take 2 hours off my shift, or get a client that doesn't require as many hours. And then the career change, if you want to move out, a lot of companies will help you with that, will help locate you and push you in the right direction, even within the company, maybe an HR position. And then finally, the pay rates. Make sure before you accept a position that your pay rate is something you're comfortable with. Do the math, get your calculator, do the math before you even call that employer back, because the last thing you want to do is just create a bad relationship and like walk off of jobs. Okay, so again, my name is Stacy. I am an RBT. I will be coming back with more of these videos to help you guys out, whether you're looking to join the field, or you're already in it, or you're leaving it, or whatever you're doing. I'll definitely help you along the way.